guys, it's Mo Mustafa here, author, speaker, and coach. And in today's video, I want to talk about a very, very important topic. And it's really about the importance of getting your mind in the right place that it needs to be in order for you to accomplish the goals that you may have in your fitness, but also in your life in general and your career goals, whatever they may be. And it all really comes back to your mindset and towards your overall attitude towards everything you're doing. Okay, now how do we actually go about actually getting the right kind of mindset? Because if we haven't got our mind in the right place, very often we'll end up doing things which don't serve us. We'll end up doing things which bring us either short-term pleasure, or we'll be just basically doing anything that we can do to avoid short-term pain, or we're going to end up drifting and end up doing things that serve other people, and we don't end up prioritizing our own values and whatever it may be. Now, I actually speak to a lot of different people, and one of the guys I was speaking to today was telling me, he said, Mo, you always have such a great positive attitude and such a positive mindset. And the truth is, it's not necessarily a natural thing for me. I'm just like probably most other people, and I live in the same kind of world as most people do, which is basically surrounded with so much negativity and so much negative media and that kind of stuff. So I actually have to physically train my brain in order to keep my brain positive, okay? Because maybe by default, your mindset's going to probably drift more towards being negative, the world we kind of live in. Just like a garden, if it's not maintained, by default it's going to grow weeds and it's going to grow wild. And if you want a beautiful garden, you actually have to do the work of making it look good and sort of looking after it, right? And the same with your body. By default, your body isn't going to be in great shape, and especially in today's age where there's junk food everywhere and we don't have to walk to places, we can just jump in the car and stuff. Our bodies are probably going to be in worse shape than they were the average individual maybe 200 years ago, who might have worked on a farm or something, and they have to physically look after their bodies just as a course of living, right? So how do you go about getting your mind in the right place? And it really comes down to three crucial ingredients. It comes down to the images that you're holding in your mind, the words that you're saying in your mind, and also the words you're saying out loud, and also to do with your physiology and how you hold yourself, your posture, your body language, okay? Now, I want to share with you a technique that you can use that actually sort of kills all three birds with one stone, so to speak, and it takes things to the next level in terms of you getting your education and developing your mind and developing your education on areas that you want to improve in. Okay, and it's a very, very simple technique, but you might forget to use this technique. So I recommend you actually write this down. You write down this method and you put it on a post-it note and put it somewhere where you'll be reminded to see it every day, and maybe even put an alarm or reminder on your phone to remind you to use this technique. Because if you don't use this kind of techniques, you're going to find yourself getting dragged into the negativity of the people around you, and you might have a few problems and challenges in life, and before you know it, you find yourself you're a really miserable, grumpy person, and that's because you've allowed yourself to slip down into that path. And if you're not looking after your body at the same time, it's going to get even faster, because if you don't look after your body, it becomes almost like a cesspit, really. There's no life in there, and then your thoughts are just any thoughts that sort of bubble up from that are not going to be good thoughts, okay? So you need to consciously fight this. It is a constant battle. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's definitely doable, and you just need to build in some routines and rituals really to help do that. As you can see here, I've got a checklist, and basically what I do every day, I've got a checklist, and it shows me the things I need to do, just like a training plan when I go in the gym, right? And all I got to do is just follow the program, stick the program, trust the program, and as I do it, I check it off and I know I'm good to go. And I've been using a lot of these techniques now probably for close to 3 years now, as I've been back in the gym, training in the gym. And they are the things that keep me going, that keep me mentally and physically strong. And I even use these techniques when I go on holiday. I've just got back from the Far East again, and I've been to Malaysia and Bali and that kind of stuff. And as you're probably wondering why what you're seeing there in the background is actually when I went to Elephant Temple or something, and there was you had to wear a sarong, and basically I bought one of those, and I decided to use it on a side note here, decided to use it to sort of cover half my bookshelf, because there's a lot of books on there. Right now I'm going into focus mode, so those are the books on my left hand side that I'm focusing on, if you like, and I'm narrowing in even more than that. But there's a lot of books over there that I want to just sort of put on the back burner for the time being. I don't want them to distract me. But anyway, a little distraction there. But just back to the point now. So what you want to do, this is the technique you want to do, right? You want to get yourself a book that is to do with conditioning your mind. Okay, there's lots of different books out there. If it's to do with, like, conditioning your mind in terms of your career, you might want to read a book like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you're looking at just general mindset or general growth and personal development, this is a book I've just picked up now by John Maxwell. It's called How Successful People Grow. I started reading through it a little bit. I picked it up actually when I was in the Far East, and there's some great ideas in here. I haven't read it through cover to cover yet, but I'm going to use this as an example in just a moment. If you're looking for fitness and you want to develop your mindset in fitness capacity, feel free to check out my book on Amazon. It's called Think Yourself Lean, How to Fix Your Mindset Fast and Get in Your Best Shape Ever, no matter how busy you are. But either way, whatever book you decide to use, the key thing is that you're using these books. And the reason you want to use a book is because of this, right? A book is basically set in stone. It's like a script, okay? When I used to work in telemarketing when I was younger, when I was 19, I was a telesales manager. One of the things we used to do is we used to create scripts for the sales reps, okay? So they could get on the phone and we'd say to them, look, stick to the script. The script has already got all the important concepts and ideas built into it, okay? Now, granted, eventually when people get really good at selling, they can deviate a little bit from the script and they can improvise. But in the beginning, their minds, the people who come on the phone with these new people to sales, their minds are so scattered and so all over the place and they don't have no structure that without the script, if they jump on the phone and the person asks them a question, they don't have that script and the answers in front of them, their brain's just going to go out over here and it's going to go over there and they're going to end up all over the place, okay? So a book, remember this, right? A book is like a script. So what you can essentially do is if you take a book and you keep reading it over and over and over, sooner or later your brain, your thoughts are going to align themselves with the words in that book, okay? And then once your thoughts are aligned with that, from your thoughts, you'll trigger your feelings, and and from those, your actions will come, okay? They're kind of all interlinked, but just to keep it very simple, your thoughts and your feelings and then your actions, okay? So it starts with your thoughts. And how do we get the right thoughts? Again, we go to a book which is designed to get us towards this. Now, I'm not going to overcomplicate this too much, but what I would say is know what your goal is. So if your goal is to get in shape, then pick up a book that inspires you towards training and keep reading that book and make sure it's written by somebody who's actually in shape, okay? Now, John Maxwell is a leadership author. His whole life has been about leadership and personal development and personal growth. So I'm reading this because I want to model his thinking. I want to learn how he thinks. Okay? So this is what I'm going to do right now, okay? I'm going to show you how this works. I could read from the book from start to finish or whatever, but you don't even have to do that. What you can do starting off is just do this. Every single day, right, take a book and every single day, maybe 10, 15 minutes, I've got a timer here on my desk. I can set the timer 15 minutes, right? Actually, I'm going to do that now. I'm going to hit start. Guys, this is such an important point. I really want you to pay attention to this. Don't switch off now. Stay focused, okay? Now, this technique, what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to start reading the book, okay? And I'm going to allow the words, and I'm going to not just read the book, like this, like how some people read, slouched over, energy down, lack of oxygen, they're not breathing properly. I'm going to sit upright as though I'm giving a speech, addressing the nation, so to speak, or something, right? And I'm doing that so I can make sure that I'm breathing in properly, bringing the energy to my body, into my mind. And as I'm reading these words, I'm going to allow them to really go into my mind, and I want to internalize these words. And there is something important about this, because when you read things with emotion, okay, they become almost neurologically ingrained in you. They become part of who you are. Okay, if you don't believe me, just have a look at some of the people out there who are doing crazy stuff because they're reading certain things or they're misinterpreting certain books or whatever it might be, and it's causing them to change their behavior or act in a certain way, right? The point being is that books are very, very powerful. They're extremely powerful. If you've just seen the movie with Denzel Washington, The Book of Eli, right? When he's talking about how powerful words are. the spoken word. There's a scripture that says the power of life and death lies in the tongue. Okay, so words are so powerful. I can't make this point enough, and I hope you get this point by now. But the point being is you need to get yourself a book, right? So you got the book now, right? Now you're going to start working your way through the book. So it says here, table of contents. The first thing I'm going to look at. Reason being, a lot of people jump straight into a book, right? They just open up, they look at the cover, oh, that looks interesting, and they just open up somewhere maybe randomly in the middle, or they may start at the beginning, but a lot of people skip the table of contents. Now, this is a little tip in terms of learning and developing your mind and actually allowing your brain to learn the material in the book that's to come even faster. This tip is to read the table of contents and try to make sense of what the table of contents is without making too many assumptions, because you might misinterpret it, but just read it and try and see the big picture idea of what the book's about. And you'll probably get an idea of what this book's about just by me reading this table of contents. So you can go on Amazon, have a look, when it says look inside a book, you can see the table of contents and see what different things are being discussed, and you can get a good idea then what they're about. So it says here, introduction. Growth is the pathway to your potential. Okay, that's the first part. Now, I could have read this like this. Growth is the pathway to your potential. Do you notice the difference there? Now, watch this. Growth is the pathway to your potential. Growth is the pathway to your potential. See the difference? Right? I might be saying it out loud to the camera, but trust me, it's coming out of my mouth and going into my ears. Okay, and it's vibrating back into my body. Very powerful stuff, and it's going into my eyes. I'm reading it, it's going in my eyes, into my brain, out of my mouth, back in my ears, and it's becoming hardwired. It's making a thread. Okay? Number one, become an intentional learner. And this is another little tip here, go back and read the same sentence. Arnold Schwarzenegger talks about in his book, Total Recall, about the importance of reps, reps, reps. Keep repeating things over and over. And it's not about how many times you do it, not just about quantity, it's about the quality of your reps. Just like in the gym, if somebody's lifting the weights and they're messing around, they're not going to build any muscle, right? They're not going to get any strength. But if somebody's there and is really, contracting and thinking about it and internalizing and making the mind to muscle connection, they're going to have much greater progress. Okay, so number one, become an intentional learner. Growth doesn't just happen. Growth doesn't just happen. Okay, so that's the first point. Now look how much power I put into that first point alone. Now what do you think that's already done for my ability to remember that idea, that growth doesn't just happen? That it's just not a case of I show up and I just show up at the gym and I'm suddenly going to get great results, or you show up to your job and you're going to get better at it just because you've been there for 10 years. It doesn't work that way. You've seen people who've, they're writing, and their handwriting when they were younger was great, and as they're older, their handwriting is terrible because they haven't consciously focused on it. I'm the first one to admit it. When I was younger, I did a calligraphy course, and I was doing handwriting in school, and I got chosen to go and do a calligraphy course because my handwriting was so good. At least when I put the effort into it, I put focused effort into it, right? These days, you can barely read my handwriting. Okay, I can make sense of it, but a lot of people struggle a little bit to read it. And maybe that's something I need to improve on. The point being is that if you want to grow, this is something I know for anyway, is that you need to make it an intentional thing. You need to have energy and drive in it. Now, here's another interesting point that comes with this. If you notice, I'm going through this process now, and I'm becoming more energized in the process. See how powerful this is? And this isn't just to do with the fact that I'm creating a video that I'm going to share with the world and give information. This has to do with the fact that I'm actually physiologically engaging myself. It's like I'm going on the bag and hitting the bag. I'm putting energy into it, and I'm growing in that process. So, point number two, develop self-awareness. Develop self-awareness. You must know yourself to grow yourself. You must know yourself to grow yourself. Okay? That's 2 points there. And you notice how already that's firing me up. I'm like, yes, become an intentional learner. Growth doesn't just happen. Number two, develop self-awareness. You must know yourself to grow yourself. Number three, believe in yourself. You must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. You must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. Okay? Now, I've studied a lot of John Maxwell stuff, so I'm quite familiar with some of these ideas anyway. But I just want to emphasize a little bit about this point, okay? And this is something that a lot of people struggle with, and I still struggle to this day. And maybe it's nurture, maybe it's nature, who knows? The point is, I still have this battle where I might think I'm not good enough, I'm not ready, or whatever it might be, okay? But don't let that stop you. Don't let that thought stop you, okay? Overcome it. Learn to override it. Learn to battle through it. But as you have these thoughts, realize what you are. Realize that your body is this amazing, incredible mechanism, this amazing machine, like almost like a top of the range car. Now, granted, you may have neglected it for a while and not looked after it, but there's nothing to say that once you put it through a mental and physical MOT, so to speak, you can fix things. If you look at some of my profile photos from 3 years ago, you'll see I was going down a certain direction, and that wasn't very good. Granted, I wasn't, it was mainly to do just dietary things, but nonetheless, I didn't have my diet in check, and I was going down the wrong path. Okay, and I've managed to then get in control of my brain first of all, and then take over my body, right? And you have the same potential within you, okay? So you have to see that potential in yourself and just start investing in yourself. Learn, realize that the more you study, the more you develop your mind, develop your body, the more you're going to grow, okay? And the better you're going to get. And here's the funny thing. The better you get, the easier it becomes. So just realize at the beginning is going to be a little bit difficult, but you want to build up momentum over time, and you're just going to grow and get better and better and better. Just like learning to drive, when you first start, you haven't got a clue, you're stalling all the time, whatever. But as you start getting into the rhythm of things, next thing you know, you're driving around the street, you pass your test, you're driving around the streets. Next thing you're driving to another town or another city, and then before you know it, the world's your oyster, and you can go wherever you want, right? And this is an important point to remember, that through competence, i.e. skills, through your development of skills will come confidence, okay? Through competence comes confidence. So if you want to be confident in something, the best thing to do in that area is develop skill sets, okay? The best athletes who are confident, Michael Jordan, amazingly confident athlete. Why? Because he was also amazingly competent. If you're just confident with no competence behind it, that's more or less delusional. Just got to look at, I don't know, X Factor or something, Britain's Got Talent, and he goes on there, they're hugely confident, but they don't have the skills to back it up, and the whole audience is like, whoa. Yeah, so start the other way around. Work on your skills first, develop your skills, your competence, your competency, and from that, your confidence is going to grow, and you're going to start feeling better and better as you go through the process, okay? Next, number 4, set aside time to reflect. Learning to pause allows growth to catch up with you. Set aside time to reflect. Learning to pause allows growth to catch up with you. And this actually reminds me of something that one of the great coaches, Rich Litvin, the author of The Prosperous Coach, talks about, which is slow down to speed up success. Slow down to speed up success. Okay, I've actually got that quote here on my monitor, and I look at that all the time because I'm type A personality or whatever, but I'm pretty sort of energetic, and I find it hard to sit still. Even as a kid, I was always running all over the shop, and you could maybe describe me as hyperactive or ADHD, who knows what labels they might have thrown on me. The point being is, for me, to slow down it's not natural. Even things like I meditate every day, but it's one of the things I sit there and I'm like, holy shit, I want to go and do something. Right? So, but in order to grow, just like if you're in the gym, you can't train all the time. You got to train, and then you go home and you rest and you relax. You got to trust that you've put enough effort in, and then growth is going to come from that. And it's the same thing when you're studying. Okay, so I'm going to leave that for now. There's several more points. I recommend you pick up a copy of this book. I haven't even read it. I've skimmed through it. Let me see if I've got a, there you go, a few highlights in there. I don't know if you can see that. Put a few notes in here. So I have been looking through it, but I haven't, let me see if I can brighten this up a bit. But I haven't fully read it. But the reason I'm confident to recommend John Maxwell is because his stuff is really good. it's helped me a lot. I've read a lot of John Maxwell stuff, and he is one of those guys who's really committed his whole life to becoming the best he can be at what he's doing. And it's the same thing. You want to just make the habit of repetition. Now, a little thing here, what I've done, this is a separate little idea, but this is just complementary to it. You can actually take snippets of your favorite books and you can write them out or print them out or whatever and read them off. If there's a certain part of a book that really resonates with you, read it over and over. There's a quote here from a book by P.T. Barnum. And he was a great showman back in the day. And he actually says something very interesting here about focusing. Okay, now he's mentioned this in the context of making money and business and that stuff. But I like to just use it as an overall mindset in life about focusing, about getting really good at something and how to develop skills in a certain area. And at the top I put a little quote here from Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad Poor Dad. He says, "Focus, follow one course until successful." Now, I'm going to hang this by here a second so it's in front of me so I don't look weird sort of looking at it now. But I'm just going to read this quote off, and I'm just going to leave this with you actually because it's a very powerful quote and it's just a great idea, and it just illustrates the importance of focusing and really going over something over and over. So this is the quote. "Do not scatter your powers. Engage in one kind of business only and stick to it faithfully until you succeed, or until experience shows that you should abandon it. A constant hammering on one nail will generally drive it home at last, so that it can be clinched. When a man's undivided attention is centered on one object, his mind will constantly be suggesting improvements of value which would escape his brain if his brain were occupied by a dozen different subjects at once. Many a fortune has slipped through men's fingers by engaging in too many occupations at once. There's good sense in the old caution against having too many irons in the fire at once." Okay? Now if you notice there, yes, I was looking down at the script. Remember, script? I was looking down at it once or twice. But some of the sentences I was able to say off the top of my head, if you like. Right? And the reason being is because I read that thing every day. Okay? Every morning I get up and I remind myself. Because, again, my personality or my nature is to be very creative and come up with new ideas, and I want to start a million different projects, and I have to really force myself to rein myself in and stick to a handful of activities. Okay? And even that is a struggle. So I've got this script here that brings me back on course. It reminds me, do not scatter your powers. Engage in one kind of business only and stick to it faithfully until you succeed. Notice how I've said that and I didn't really look down at the script. Okay, so big idea, big takeaway. Remember, you have to get yourself a book. Figure out step number one. Figure out what is your goal. Are you improving your body? Maybe you're improving your certain skill set. Is the alarm's gone off? Whatever area you're looking to develop, maybe even in your business or whatever. Get yourself a book that will show you how to get there. And then make sure you're reading that book and make sure you read it out loud. Now, I know you can read your book for study purposes, silently and quiet, but we're talking about training your brain here, conditioning your brain and making things, internalizing things, and actually eliminating and removing all sorts of negative thoughts and distractions that may be coming into your consciousness by using the words as a track, as a guide. Think of them as like a checklist, like the book is like a checklist, or like training wheels on a bike, or like a train track. All you have to do then, if you're on the train track, is put energy into it and the track will guide you anyway. All you have to do is keep going forward. Okay? And that is the key. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Leave any comments and questions below. Feel free to share this video as well. And that's it. And make sure you pick up a copy of the book, How Successful People Grow by John Maxwell, or you can check out on my website, momaster.com. I've got reading lists on there and stuff of other books I'm reading. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll speak to you guys very soon. Take care.